Wow, episode 3 already. This is the Next Starship, and in the first 2 episodes I started to design my own ship, which I want to build in 3D in the coming years probably. I do have some new artworks to show at the end of this episode, but today I will focus on some research to make the concept of my ship believable within the Star Citizen universe. And because this is mostly about getting an idea what long ranges mean in this game and universe, I'm going to travel from one end of Stanton to the other in the background. So let's jump right in. So far I only said that I wanted to make a single-seat long-distance fighter for reconnaissance missions, and at some point when I have some nice pictures I will make a full-fledged pitch out of that and make a summary of what this thing is about. But for now let's make the description just a tiny bit more detailed. I wanted to have enough range to travel in between star systems, possibly multiple ones, on missions that do not necessarily expect enemy contact, so military exploration, analyzing abandoned battlefields, retrieve black boxes to have one of the standard sci-fi missions, and also traverse terrain that might be hard to maneuver for bigger ships, like asteroid fields or wreckages or gas storm clouds or whatever CIG comes up with. So let's start at the very beginning. What actually are long distances in Star Citizen? I took some time reading into this, and long story short, it's a bit complicated. The star map and the wiki use real-world scale, which is given in astronomical units, but in-game all these distances are about a tenth of what they should be, while the planets are at about a sixth of their real-world scale. I will spare you the details of all that and give you some numbers to work with. The longest distance in the currently available Stanton system is from Microtech to Arc L5, which is about 72 million kilometers in-game. Once we get our second system, Pyro, in and wanted to reach the planet furthest from Stanton, that would be around 274 million kilometers. And if in the far future we wanted to travel from the Stanton to the Odin system, which will be featured in the single-player Squadron 42 campaign, that would be 585 million kilometers. Alright, very boring. Let's put these numbers into perspective and look at some existing ships. Nearly all small and medium fighters, so the Gladius, the Avenger, the Arrow, the Hornet, the Buccaneer, the Sabre, the Aurora, right now they all have the same potential range, with a max of 120 million kilometers, but at stock loaded it's more like 30 million on the Gladius and 60 million kilometers on an Aurora. This means that you have to make stops to cross even the relatively compact Stanton system, which makes sense, you are still traversing a solar system after all, but also gameplay-wise gives rest stops a purpose, and lore, logic and gameplay-wise gives purpose to fleet carriers. But we do already have some ships with better ranges. First of all, the Vanguard series, a heavy fighter, and which description reads, their multiple jump range allows them to form the vanguard on any military expedition. On stock it has a range of 120 million kilometers, which you could get to 450 million, which would be enough to reach the end of the Pyro system from Stanton, but might not be enough to get back. And while Pyro will be much bigger than what we have right now, it will definitely not be the biggest system in the universe. Apart from the range, the Vanguard is a multi-crew ship, which would be helpful to travel long distances, and also features beds. But at the end of the day is primarily a heavy fighter, even in its variants, and its range is still not massive. I see its role more in maybe carrying out an attack from one system to the next, and then return to the fleet. Mine would be a lot smaller, so better suited for those hard to maneuver places and potentially much cheaper. So you could potentially have 3 smaller ships for the same price that could then swarm out in the target area to cover more ground. Next on my list is the Crusader Ares, which has double the range of the Vanguard. Its only real purpose is to attack capital ships though, and is very reliant on escorts, but I chose it because it's a single-seater with a great range, so it might be a good reference for my design. Then we have the Redeemer, which has even more range, but again it's a heavy gunship, its main purpose is fighting. And then we obviously see a lot of range in the Carrack, in the Odyssey, and the exploration ships. And then currently we see the biggest range in the Argo Raft with 5 billion kilometers range. It's a cargo transport, so it makes sense, but at the end of the day I didn't find any small military long-range reconnaissance ships or anything in that area really. Which is cool because I think there's a niche for my concept. But now I want to have a look at the gameplay side. What gives a ship long range in-game in Star Citizen? How does it work gameplay-wise? So currently you get in your ship, you leave atmosphere, then plot a course for quantum travel and then make the jump. Traveling between systems requires jump gates, which you have only seen in gameplay demos so far. The most important factors for a ship's range are its quantum drive and the amount of quantum fuel it can carry. Let's start with the drive. Quantum drives come in different sizes, so an Aurora has a size 1, a Vanguard has a size 2, 890 Jump has a size 4. These sizes are fixed depending on the ship type, but each size has different models to choose, with different focus on speed, range, efficiency, calculating time and price. These are also physicalized, so they do actually appear in your ship. What is not implemented yet, but is coming in the future, is that you can't take them out right now and replace them manually, and you cannot destroy them targeted yet. But here's what is important for my design. All ships of one size equip the same models, so I can't just get a better drive than other ships. Also, bigger drives are less efficient than smaller ones, so the same amount of fuel in a smaller ship gets you further. I had the idea of building a big size 2 or even size 3 drive in a small ship, and was hoping that would get it further, but that is not how it works. So let's look at fuel next. There are two types: hydrogen fuel for planetary and normal speed space travel, and quantum fuel for quantum travel. This is more straightforward than the drives. More fuel equals more range. Also, the fuel tanks are one of the few things not physicalized, so ultimately I could just say it has massive fuel tanks, but I'll have a look at other ships to make it believable. But ultimately I'm not happy with the idea of just having massive fuel tanks on a small ship. But then I had another idea. Fuel scooping is a thing in Star Citizen. Most or many ships have fuel intakes at the front that filter gas in flight and constantly refuel your ship if you are not at full speed and are in an area that has gases. As far as I know, this only works for hydrogen fuel so far, which is a gas and can easily be harvested. Quantanium, however, occurs solid within rocks, which are broken down and refined by larger ships or refineries. But quantum scooping has been mentioned a few times too, so I at least wanted to explore that. And so I added one more sketch to my current design. The front wings, different levels, had no real purpose so far, but adding big intakes to collect very small pieces or even dust and filter it for quantanium looks cool, makes some sense, and makes a unique feature, I guess. It could explain a very, very long range on this ship, and could potentially be balanced at the same time, because since these take up so much space in the front, there would just be less space for weapons. I would have to explore the size and proportions of this a little more. Right now I fear that it could look too much like an industrial ship, and I will have to find some elegant way to hide or close the intakes to restore a bit of the aerodynamic properties. I'm still not 100% sold on the concept, but I like playing with the idea. And that wraps episode 3. I have decided to stop making sketches for the other work in progress options for now, and make a very basic 3D model for this design first, to check out the proportions and also to make the series a bit more interesting. I should probably also create some kind of roadmap to give an idea how this whole process will continue. Anyways, this was episode 3. See you in the verse.